I'm joined with Brian, CTO at Semify, to talk about leadership, innovation, and scaling teams in IT. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you.
So, with nearly 2 decades of expertise, what's your philosophy on leading IT teams?
Yeah, I think the important thing is building functional pipelines, both just not on code and all the technical matters, but it's so important to have a good talent pool and a mix of that talent pool. And so, one of the strategies, of course, I know I've heard challenges in the community with trying to hire Cold Fusion developers. I think that's unfortunate. I think that you can create Cold Fusion developers if you're not be able to find those, and you generally pull from other programming languages. It's similar to others. There's a lot of commonalities, but that proper training and guidance and building those strong pipelines and giving that training. I always say it's better to train them and so they can leave, but rather you train them so they can stay. So.
Nice. How do you balance rapid development with maintaining scalability and stability?
Well, a lot of it is tools. I mean, that is an important part of it. But this morning we heard about do less with more. I'm actually a do less with less, trying to make things less complicated, scale down the infrastructure as much as possible, but be ready for those challenging times where you'll see those increases in traffic or burst rates, the times where you get very fragile, and if you can have a good infrastructure in place to support that, it's great. But you also need to have the team aspect too. That human in the loop is still so critical for us, and being able to help analyze things and understand when things aren't going right and being able to act with intelligence on the matter and experience and calmness, that's really critical and key to stay in that evolution state of continual change.
So what are the key differences between architecting for e-commerce versus manufacturing?
Oh, it's quite a bit. I spent many of my years in e-commerce and spent some time at the manufacturing side as well. But e-commerce, obviously critical systems need to stay up. You're dealing with a lot of third-party integrations as well, credit card gateway processing. All those things are pitfalls and dangers at any point if there's any kind of failures. So you need to make sure you're as resilient as possible. On the manufacturing side, things take a lot longer. On the e-commerce, it was very quick, transactional, things are continually moving. On the manufacturing side, products could take years to develop. Software needed to also stay fairly fast and agile on that, but also products to support that could take some time. So it was a bit of a radical shift for me. Definitely a lot slower pace, but you need to be much more accurate with what you were building in that case because of those long ramp up times and expectations that you're continually going to be able to support that at any point.
Okay. What's the most underestimated factor in team's efficiency?
I think blindly looking at the numbers. I've told stories before. There's a lot of different metrics that are going to be in your ecosystem, and if you just simply look at the volume or the number to make assumptions on what performance is, I think you're doing yourself an injustice in your team. I've seen plenty of times where someone will pull code review bucket and say, this developer's done 400 PRs this year and another one did 200. I think you still have to look at the quality of those PRs and understand the context. It's nothing worse than promoting somebody or encouraging someone that creates a lot of bugs that looks like they really have high numbers and there's efficiency gains when really they're creating more problems. So I said it's one of those things where you can intervene and provide training, but look behind the numbers a little bit, get some context and make sure you're making good judgments on what you're looking at.
Okay. What advice would you give to CTOs about keeping innovation alive in distributed teams?
Yeah, it's tiresome. I don't know if I have the best advice. You try to hold it together and make sure you're staying on the curve and on the edge, but obviously it is a challenge. Things are moving quite fast, but I also like to make sure that we don't just jump on the latest fad or tech. I think it's a little risky. You have to be open and have some awareness, but at the same time you have to keep things up and running and be mature about it.
And then I have been hearing that you have been supporting students, getting them up to the speed. Now that you are doing that in US, how we can do that in India? What are the tips you can give us?
The great thing is that there's no one blueprint that works for this. It's, each environment's going to be different. There's several years where we try to institute this in different school systems, and just in North Carolina alone, not even outside the United States. You're going to find some behaviors that maybe will promote it and encourage it, but then once you try to get it across the finish line or get it started, you can run into some challenges. I think you got to figure out what works for you and be flexible and find yourself a group of students that might have some interest, and you can find some support, start there and see where it goes.
Okay. And how can people follow your work and connect with you after this event?
I'm terrible at social media. I am on LinkedIn, but I do apologize. But I may not always get back to you immediately. But it's probably the best way to do it, LinkedIn. I don't have much of a large social media footprint, so and that's by choice.
No problem. Thanks, Brian. Thanks
Yep,
for your time.
Thanks.